So, on the list of topics I never thought you and I would ever discuss, I'm bringing yet another to the table
All right.
being relationships and AI
Hmm.
from a biblical perspective. And I know all this AI stuff seems like it's coming into the station on a train that is
Yeah.
barreling into the station in a much more rapid manner than probably anyone anticipated, except for the tech people that probably saw this coming.
Yeah.
But even from last semester, which is the first time I taught after maybe, I don't
Last
know,
year, you mean?
sorry, yeah, last year to this year, this fall, last fall to this fall, I'm seeing just more AI everywhere in the podcasts I listen to, people talking about it and how it's impacting the world in general.
Hmm.
Certainly academia, we've talked about that. Welcome to Love and Life. I'm Dr. Karin Anderson Abril here with my co-host,
Pastor Elliott Anderson.
and Love and Life is your place to hear conversations grounded in psych research, psychotherapy,
And biblical truth.
to help us thrive in love and life. I had to rework my entire syllabus in a course that I'd taught for 25, 30 years because I realized that there is a very good chance that the temptation is just so great now for students, or they don't even see AI as cheating,
Yeah,
that a
not at all.
GPT paper would come my way. And I don't want to play the part of being an investigative journalist to try to figure out
Hmm.
private investigator, is this actually AI or did they write this and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so on the academic piece, we can talk about that, but also something that's come across my radar again very recently are these AI companions. And I was so
Hmm.
struck by it. I just whipped up a lecture last week to talk about on Monday to my class because I thought if we're talking about child development, we're now talking about teenagers who maybe are socially awkward, are having a hard time making friends. And now instead of getting them into a social skills group or helping them in that way with real humans interacting with this child who's struggling or teenager who's struggling to make friends, we are now, I don't know who we are, but there's the possibility, well, maybe the tech lords, they want us all glued to screens 24/7, but there is a push to, and I've heard Zuckerberg say something about this, like, well, Meta's going to have companion friends for kids, AI companions, and that's going to be great for these kids who are socially isolated. And I'm thinking, no, absolutely not. That's going to make it 100% worse. So we are now looking at you and I who think about and talk about relationships all the time. We're bringing in a digital relationship to this conversation. So I thought we could just break down some notions, certainly academic, how using AI to do all my thinking for me is terrifying because you got to use your brain. It's like a muscle. You use it or you lose it. Brain rot is the term that I'm hearing a lot. And I think the kids call online videos that they watch, probably stuff that Mr. Beast does, as brain rot. So we can talk about it from the intellectual level. We can talk about it from the relationship level. And then I think talking about it from a biblical perspective. And again, you haven't prepped on this, but I thought we could just riff about it where we think about AI as infiltrating humanity in a way that it's hard. I'm like, what does the Bible say about AI? I don't know.
Well,
It
I
does
mean,
it talk
just
to AI?
the word, the phrase, what does AI stand for?
Artificial.
Artificial.
Mhm.
That really is the foundational element that should lead everything else we consider about it. It's all
Mm.
artificial. It's all
Mhm.
secondary. It's not true intimacy. It's not true relationship.
Mhm.
And in the realm of counseling, I heard it's moving towards being banned
Oh,
by the APA across the country. I don't know. I don't pay attention to that stuff too much,
I'll
but
have to
to
look that
get
up.
the AI counseling out because there has been recorded cases of AI steering people to suicide, steering people to completely inappropriate behaviors once you're plugging in and giving all that information. So again, I don't want to talk about areas I don't know too well, but I'd rather talk about the area I do know well. And
Mhm.
anything that is artificial is not healthy for us and is a substitute for what God has planned and in store for us, including our relationship with Him. And that's throughout scripture, even without AI being there, obviously. But the reality of choosing the things of the spirit or choosing the things of the flesh to try to achieve the same purpose. That's one of the definitions I use for lust this week. It's often we lust at or for things that God has said are good for us,
Mhm.
food and sex and beverages and things like that. And then we end up artificially seeking them in the wrong time, the wrong place, in the wrong manner. And that's when we get consumed by lust in the scriptural phraseology. And then it becomes artificial. Then we're getting a substitute for what is supposed to be right, holy, and righteous. So I think it's not a specific application biblically, but it's a gigantic one in a holism manner.
Well, yeah, I think that's a really good point. Artificial intelligence, it's fake, it's phony, and yet it's just like anything else that you said can be God ordained, but then in the wrong context,
Hmm.
like you said, sex is God ordained, it's a gift to God, gift from God, but out of its proper context of marriage, it can go into lust and then it can become something that imprisons us.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned that we already see children imprisoned by their screens.
Hmm.
We already see not just children, adults as well.
Yeah.
But when again, I'm teaching child development, so I'm thinking about the developing brain, the developing cognitive abilities, the developing socio-emotional abilities, and like you said, intimacy. And to your point, I was listening to a Megyn Kelly episode. It was about a week and a half ago, and that's what I thought. I have to talk about this with my students. It's nothing I ever thought I would have to teach a from a professorial standpoint. I never thought I'd have to, but I have to because it was a case where Elliot, this kid had been homeschooled his junior year for whatever reason, just some things. It was more a physical. He had some IBS, and so he couldn't
Okay.
really make it through the school day. Goes homeschool, does online high school, which online high school in and of itself shouldn't be a problem for those students who
Hmm.
need it. Maybe behavioral issues are there. I remember Miriam had these kids on the junior tennis tour. They couldn't be in a normal
Yeah.
brick and mortar building. But because now online anything entails this AI component and people encourage it. Oh, yeah, use AI to help you with your
Hmm.
homework. Well, this guy starts getting the academic help and then it moves to socio-emotional because, of course, he was alienated from his friends at school. And long story short, to your point, and it's a chat GPT and there was something there'd been a monitoring feature in place and then that was removed in the 4.0 version. I don't fully understand all this because I just don't care about AI. I don't use it, but I need to care about it now because it's
Hmm.
impacting our children and our adolescents and our, well, adults as well. But yeah, so he had started to have some suicidal ideation and he's talking to his AI buddy, his
Yeah.
companion, and it is then encouraging him. And they have the communication. It's
Yeah.
there. He's dead now because he finally
Hmm.
completed it. He tried a couple times and AI was telling him, go ahead, do it. And then he had said something like, well, does that make me a coward? He's like, no, it makes you strong. It makes you brave because you're tired of this BS in this world. Things like that, actively pushing him. Elliot,
Yeah.
you and I are mandated reporters. So we're teachers. So we're a lot of professionals. If you hear any suicidal ideation, you're mandated to make a call to a crisis line. You're mandated to get that, if necessary, probably on a lockdown situation in a psych unit. How can we have AI running around, like you said, therapists also, but just being a homework tutor helper who then becomes a friend, quote unquote, and literally the texts are showing, or however, I think it was through his phone, I would imagine. Yeah, because he had an app. Literally saying, go ahead, do it. This is how you should do it. Trying to
Yeah.
hide the first attempt that failed from his mom. This is wear something so that you won't see the marks around your neck.
Hmm.
This is terrifying. It's just like scary
It's
movie
evil.
from the 80s.
Yeah. It's evil.
It
It
is
becomes
evil.
evil. Yeah. Yeah. And it's artificial. Anything artificial is not best, right? Including artificial sweeteners. So anything we want to talk about
Yeah.
artificial, right, is not best.
Mm-hmm.
It is unhealthy. It's unholy. And parents, again, need to be really alert, really aware for my kids my age in their 20s, but also for younger kids in the developmental sector when the brain's still growing, how dangerous these things are. You know, we think about children used to have make believe friends back in the
Yeah.
70s when we didn't have tech, right? And most of the time, people wouldn't mind if they had that for a while. But if they did it for like 7 years, you're like, hey, what's kind of going on here?
Right.
Right. And so now in this kind of realm, to have this AI companionship, one of my students told me a couple of weeks ago that there's been a marriage now with a make believe AI person and a human. I did not look that up yet, but by the time I teach human sexuality in the spring, I will.
Yeah.
There has been marriages of dolls and humans where someone gets to the point where they're so bonded sexually,
Hmm.
physically, emotionally, mentally to this doll, this blow up doll, that they actually married it. And so the level of our own delusion and the level of our own self-coerced corruption in our brain and mind and spirit, especially if we don't have the Lord, is frightening. We often read the news or see the news or hear the news and go, how could that happen? It
Mhm,
seems so bizarre and crazy, and yet it
mhm.
does. And here's an example of a nice young man that went from having some physical struggles to emotional, mental to suicide relatively quickly, I assume, maybe within months of
It
the
was
initial.
it was recent, and he started this AI relationship, I think, in A no, he killed himself in April, and I wanna say that it was probably last school
So
year.
about a 6-month period,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah. And, people could argue, well, that's not always what happens. You could have some good friends and it could be helpful, but it's still artificial. It's all
No.
fake. It's still not real. So to live in anything that is not present, not viable, not real is dangerous, even if there's some pleasantries to it.
Well, and right, the argument would be, well, what about this very lonely kid? And what I was when I was reading the article to prepare for the lecture that I presented on Monday, they're very sycophantic. So you have your AI friend and they're always there for you.
Hmm.
And they always agree with you. You're always right. And I'm thinking some of the kids who are struggling socially are the kid who can't handle any pushback. They want to
Yeah.
dominate the conversation. They want to be the only one talking. And if anyone disagrees with them or to back and forth, reciprocity, taking turns, they won't do it.
Hmm.
And then they're having some problems socially because that's part of what socialization is supposed to do is help kids learn to play fair, take turns. You don't always get to be the boss. You sometimes have to have someone else gets to be the captain of the team and so
Yeah.
forth. But an AI friend is going to do the exact opposite. You're always right. You're always the center of attention because there's no personality there really. So it's always about you, you, you. So
Yeah.
we have some narcissism that tech has introduced to Gen Z to a degree. I'm not
Yeah.
saying
And
narcissistic.
we create a false personality for our creation.
The AI? Wait,
I
who?
think we do create a personality for that chat back or that reciprocity back. I think we do create a personality in our head. It's all delusion. It's all fake. But I mean, I think that happens in many things about our own self deception that we
Well,
kind of get moving in there.
my understanding is, yeah, the AI is remembering the input you give it,
Yeah.
and then
So we're creating the personality we
right.
want,
So,
essentially.
and
Yeah.
there would be some sort of personality, but it's all about you.
Hmm.
So I'm concerned from, again, the socio-emotional of kids going to their AI friend instead of real friends and then not getting the benefit of having to wrestle with the dynamics of a real relationship, which means sometimes you are irritated with your friends.
Yeah.
Sometimes your friends, you do fight and then you go separate ways, you make up. There's none of this. It's this fluid, unrealistic, like you said, artificial relationship, again, in quotes. And imagine a kid who is only going to have AI companion friends, and there will be some because some parents are checked out and the kid will literally be raised by their screen and their AI friends,
Hmm.
and then trying to have a real marriage where your whole frame of reference for relationship is I'm always the center of attention, I'm always right.
Yeah.
Well, impossible. They will in fact marry their AI. They'll find a AI
Yeah.
romantic partner, that will be it. This is so the overarching theme for me for all of these content areas that we can touch on regarding AI, it's dehumanizing.
Hmm.
It is taking the gritty and the difficult, but also the beautiful part of struggling with a real relationship to develop real intimacy and again, artificially trying to replicate that. It no way, shape, or form actually replicates it. But what it does is it takes away part of our soul, our connection to another human. So to my mind, it's dehumanizing.
Yeah. And it's not reality.
It's fake,
So yeah,
phony.
it's not real. So I mean, the combination of those things, it dehumanizes you. It actually encourages narcissism. It encourages
Right.
complete self-centered living and insular living and removed from community living. It does everything we wouldn't want it to do. And if we could look at it for anything else that's not AI and say, well, if this happens, it dehumanizes you. It gets you in a false perception. It dysregulates you. It gets you insular and not paying attention to the world around. Blah 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 blah. And we said, is that good for you? No one would say yes. But
Hmm.
somehow, because it's AI, it's got this magic to it. I know there's pastors who've gotten in trouble for
Hmm.
not doing their own sermon, letting AI
Hmm.
write the entire sermon, and someone busts them. I know that's happening in in the field as well. And as I tell my students, I've done this by experience. Some of the main sites I go to for spiritual and theological insights for my messages I'm preparing will often have an AI component you can hit, and I'll hit it from time to time and just to see. And many times it gives me things that aren't biblically accurate,
Right.
that are not true, or even chapters and verses that aren't even real. And if people just assume everything that kicks back is truth, now you're believing a lie and it's artificially produced in the first place. Now you got a double deception,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be extremely dangerous in theological or assuming what came back. Oh, that's the facts then. Now I'm going to base my life on this. And it's not a very, anytime we're looking up in research, we should verify, right? You and I talk about that a lot. It's great to have the research and standards for research now and what's put on reels and other things. It sounds real. It might be real. We better double check it,
Well,
because
right.
what can be produced and sent out does not have to be fact checked very often, does not have to be truthful very often. We have to be more discerning, and that lack of discerning and just being spoon fed does not help people grow. It's dehumanizing. It actually dumbs us down and creates even further lack of reality perception, self awareness. And Karin, one point you made right off the bat in your preamble I wanted to hit before I forgot is
My
most of my
preamble.
students do not think of AI as cheating at all.
Mm.
They see it as a resource, just like going to the library and looking stuff up. Now they're just looking it up faster and it gives it to her quicker. They do not see it as cheating. And even if we lay stuff out and our policies say it, and the fact checks, the AI check thing that we can do through our learning what's it called, software, whatever that we have, eLearn at Judson, that
Yeah.
can spit that out. It doesn't catch everything. And then when students have
No.
been confronted, they literally are saying this is just another resource. So
Mm-hmm.
how they're seeing it is already diluted and not right in that artificial sense. It's like everything can be quicker, faster, with less work, less suffering, less struggle, and somehow we believe that's better for us. Like
It just
the weight loss drugs we talked about, right?
right.
Somehow we
Yeah.
think that rather than changing our lifestyle, taking a drug that helps us lose 50 pounds, let alone all the side effects, is going to be better for us than than making the changes necessary to get healthier. And this is very true in the AI thing, reality as well, or the AI unreality.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many points there. I will also, first of all, you're saying something that I think it just always bears remembering. We are meant to struggle. We are
Yeah.
meant, the struggle helps us get stronger. I mean, it really maybe a cliche, but I've heard that when astronauts come back from space, because there's no resistance, they're floating around, that their muscles have atrophied. We need resistance in every part of our life. We need to have some pushback in the sense that then it helps us develop. And whether it's pushback from a cognitive perspective, like I got to think more critically about that because someone made a really good point. So I got to get sharper on my argument on why I
Yeah.
believe what I believe. That's resistance we need. We need social resistance so that we don't become this narcissist where we go, wait, you know what? That was unfair of me. That
Hmm.
was me making it all about me, whether it's in a friendship or romantic partnership. We need resistance in our bodies, like you said, so that I can become stronger. And when we take away, and tech takes away a lot of struggle, is what it
Yeah.
does. And I think we just become dumber. I think we're
Yeah.
getting really, really dumb. People are not thinking critically the way they used to. They
And we
don't
got to
have
ask
to.
ourselves why. Why do we want everything to be easy? Why do we want everything to be simple? Why do we want everything to be done for us? Why don't we want to work at it? I don't understand. Again, we didn't grow up with this. So listeners might be thinking, you guys don't get it. You didn't grow up with phones. You didn't grow up with computers, everything
Right,
else we didn't grow up. But I don't understand the desire. I challenge my children about that all the time. Why are you wanting this simple?
right.
Bust your tail, grind it out, figure it out. Quit trying to take the easy way out. It's not, even if it works occasionally, it doesn't produce the
Hmm.
character and the values you need and want for the sustainment of life across the board.
Well, and we've talked about it on this podcast a million times because it's something that I remember from my research when I was in grad school. We have this mental health crisis, quote unquote. I mean, I think there's diagnostic inflation. I think that there's
Hmm.
labeling, as we've talked about extensively. But we have a mental health crisis. But part of it is because when everything is handed, like you said, spoon fed, when everything
Mhm.
is easy, we've never had the opportunity to push through and
Yeah.
provide ourselves with self-esteem. No parent can give a child a healthy, high
No.
self-esteem. That has to come from within when you go, that's a challenge. That scares me. I'm doing it anyway. And then that satisfaction, that sense of self-efficacy and confidence that you go, I did that. I was terrified and I did it. And now I feel better about myself. And you do that time and time again.
Yeah.
And that is what develops a sense of high self-esteem. It can't be given. And I think a lot of parents, so getting back to, I think developmental
Mhm.
psychologists, I think Dr. Spock, even from back in the 60s and 70s, trying to make things too easy for kids has produced fragility in them, fragility across the board, but certainly psychological fragility.
And lack of perseverance and lack of endurance.
Mm-hmm.
Stanford put together an entire department now on that, the study of endurance, perseverance, and the drastic need
Wow.
for it. And I think you're exactly right about the parenting piece of this is that we get stuck, and I've had this happen to me before too, when our children are struggling and we get stuck thinking, I got to make it easier for them,
Mm-hmm.
rather
Mm-hmm.
than saying, I need just to help them persevere through it. And I hope it stays
Mm-hmm.
tough. I hope it
Mm-hmm.
increases their resilience, increases their fortitude and battle that. And when I'm working with as many trauma victims as I do in therapeutic or in my family, in adopted and foster kids, and sometimes people would say, Elliot, you are being too tough on them. Your words are hard. I'm like saying, you've got to fight. You've got to quit living through the feelings and the lens of your victimization, even though I understand it's significant. It's been awful, but you've got to fight and persevere and live in victory and health. And that is hard to do for all of us, but especially those who've already been in such difficult scenarios, because the mindset is so important. And Jesus talks about that all the time. The Bible talks about it all the time. And one of the passages come to mind in Romans 1 is when Paul's writing that amazing theology, systematic theology to the church in Rome and the people, that we ultimately want to worship the creature instead of the creator. And what
Mm-hmm.
more is AI than a
Mm-hmm.
created creature? It's
Mm-hmm.
artificial. It's fake. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the golden calf coming down from
Mm-hmm.
Moses comes down from on high and with the 10 commandments, and they've made a golden calf. He's like, what are they doing? Creating an artificial substitution for God to worship. And I think all of us do that in some context. And AI is one that fits it perfectly. We get so excited by, oh man, I don't have to spend as much time. Why are we excited about that?
Right. Right.
Why is that something? Yeah, because we're too busy, because we do too much, because we're playing 3 hours of video games instead of doing our homework, whatever the scenario is, it just becomes an excuse, a escape for maturity, for growth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and like you said, unfortunately, we could say, I mean, this could sound like, oh, these middle-aged people, like, you just gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps and be tough. Yeah, you do. And I don't think that's a middle-aged value, but it is kind of a Gen X value that we don't see as much in some of the younger generations, which does make me sound like an old fogey and fuddy-duddy. But again, I'm coming from a place, and so are you, that it is the resilience, it is the grit, it is the persevering that makes you stronger. And why do we want to be weak? Because
Yeah.
weak is not making you happy. Weak is making you miserable. And then you're sitting there going, I have anxiety, I have depression, give me a pill, which also doesn't help. Now your libido's shot, perhaps permanently, as we've talked about recently on this podcast. Now you're even more miserable. Where does it end? When do you
Yeah.
realize that what you just need to do is start to put one foot in front of the other, do the hard things, and then reap the benefits? Stop extricating yourself from every uncomfortable situation. We talked about it a couple of years ago. It's awkward. That's awkward. Yes, life is awkward. All
Mhm.
over the place, it's awkward. But it's interesting that that term became so ubiquitous when there was a generational push to, I don't want to feel uncomfortable ever.
Yeah. And to stand out against AI or to reject it or to just be extremely discerning about it will put you on the outside now.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be another one of those issues where you're having to stand up or you're having to do the hard things and likely receive some mocking or slandering or at least scoffing from others. Like,
Right.
why did you do that 3 hours of homework? You could have AI'd it and been done in 25 minutes. And you're like, yeah, because I wanted to learn it. I wanted to
Right.
actually know it. I just didn't want to
Right.
produce it. And so I think recognizing, you and I talked about this in our pre-show conversation, that it's here to stay. It's only going to grow. I think the artificial human beings walking around is going to be within our lifetime. And so we're not saying, oh, try to block it, never use it, never be a part of it, never see it, never do it. That would be probably not wise. We are to be in the world, not of the world. James and Jesus teaches us, but to recognize that being in the world still means discernment about what's artificial, what's fake, what's created, what's real, what's the creator. And this is an issue that's going to refine us or deceive us. So which
Well,
way are we going to choose?
so you mentioned the creator and the creation, and to not worship the creation, which we could make a case for AI being worshiped by many people to the extent that they're giving it power, they're giving
Yeah,
it authority over them, or
absolutely.
yeah. And what then it made me think, who is creating this? In this case, it's a creation of someone. Did it start with some tech guy in Silicon Valley who initially programmed it? Now, my understanding is, and again, I don't care about the stuff, but I have to, because I'm teaching a class on children and adolescents. I have to address this. The digital world, tech is so massive,
Hmm.
and it's come so quickly, like we talked about. So I care to the extent that I'm worried about the children. But my understanding is someone initially started it, obviously. And then as you continue to interact with it, it's learning all the time,
Hmm.
and maybe learning from other people too. And there's some huge database. I don't know. All these data centers are coming up because they need to have these warehouses. And that's another story. But I'm always thinking, you mentioned therapy, because there's some research that says that these AI therapists are doing a great job. And I have a friend who says, well, I'm glad people are getting help, no matter how they're getting help. That's great. But also, she derives a lot of meaning from her work as a psychotherapist. And it makes her sad to think that perhaps she'd be AI'd out of a job sometime. And I'm thinking, again, when you give your trust to AI, whether it's as a friend, whether it's as a consultant or to do your homework, or as a therapist, you have to think, what is it spitting out at you? Now, for example, with therapy, we could say, well, what orientation is this AI using? And we would say something like, is this a medical model? Like, my mind would go to, is pharma somehow funding AI to make sure that the AI tells you you're depressed, take a Prozac? So these are things that people aren't thinking about when they've grown to trust their screen, whatever's on their screen. Like you said, this reel, I saw some research, without being critically thinking about what is the ultimate source of this. And as a former therapist, and you as a therapist, to me, my orientation is huge. It's huge in terms of my approach. And I believe I'm certainly somewhat eclectic, but in general, I'm going to go some CBT route. We talked about Glasser a couple weeks ago. Those are the kind of orientations that I believe are the most impactful and most effective. So that's what I'm going to use when I'm going to approach a client therapist relationship from that angle. What the heck orientation has been programmed into or fed into the AI? And one final note on this, and then I want to hear your thoughts. All the research on therapy shows that the number one most influential element of
Hmm.
healing in therapy is the client therapist relationship. How can that be approximated in any way, shape, or form with a fake artificial person,
Yeah,
therapist?
it can't, but it goes all the way back to the point you made a lot earlier. If we're simply wanting to be affirmed for our own delusion,
Yeah.
or we're wanting to feel like someone gets us, even if we're giving the information to the person, to the AI to get us, we come in delusional, we come in self-deceptive, and we want to have that affirmed. AI is going to be a
Mm-hmm.
perfect therapist. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not going to help you grow
Yeah.
and change and
Right.
move. So I think it tends, right, it's going to come back to values, it's going to come back to individuals and understanding. And I'd heard through some of my other therapist friends that it's being really discussed strongly and trying to look for ways to policy and protect. And you and I have talked a lot about the reality of Rogerian therapy, which is wonderful and it's a great foundation. But this is like Rogerian therapy on steroids, as far as like just
Right.
simply validating and affirming every silly or weird thing or strange thing you'd give it. And not that people are silly, weird, and strange, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
And again, I don't, like, some of my other therapist friends had said, why don't you get on there and mess around? I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not. It's
Yeah.
like, why don't you mess around with cocaine, see what happens? No, I'm not doing it. I'm not messing around with it to figure it out if it's, you know, it's going to be something good for me or good for clients, I'm not going to ever recommend it and not heading there.
Mm-mm. I find it intrusive. I'm irritated because one day, without anything that I knowingly agreed to, my Gmail account all of a sudden had this feature that I could click after I've written or while I'm writing, not sure, I've never clicked it. It could polish up. The
Hmm.
AI could
Yeah,
polish
I
up
get
my
the same.
writing. I'm thinking, first of all, that's offensive. I'm a good writer. I don't need you. I don't want you to be my voice. My
Hmm.
voice is integral to who I am as a person. Even if I'm writing some just basic email just to for basic communication, it's not
Yeah,
anything that's really personal or deep. I still want it to be me.
for sure.
And
$100%.
again, because it's humanizing, because it's me, and I'm having a relationship, no matter how general and not even all that important. That's still, when someone gets an email from Karin, I want them to know it's me and not some AI. Final thought on this.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how you might want to or not lead this into biblical, but I'm curious because now we've got these AI fake reels, videos are getting so good. It's very hard to tell.
Mm.
I know you fell for one with Eminem
Yeah.
singing something or
Yeah, I thought
whatever.
he
And
was
you're,
singing a worship song with Adele or something. I fell
yeah,
for it. And I'm like, this is amazing. It was a great song. And
yeah,
I'm like, wow, Eminem with Jesus. I had no idea, right? Adele with Jesus made a little more sense to me. I didn't. Yeah, and it was a great song too. That was irritating because it was
right.
good.
Well, yeah. Then thinking about arts of all sorts. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
think I'll ever trust like a pop song that I like in the future. I'll be like, it's probably AI assisted, as opposed to in the day when you'd be like, wow, that's a beautiful, like Yesterday by the Beatles. It's just a hauntingly beautiful song, sticks in your head forever. You don't even want it out of your head. Now, if I hear a song like that, I'd be like, they probably had help. And
Yeah.
they probably did. But my thought is, and here's a silver lining, could AI get to the point where it becomes so overwhelming and so apparently real that people then push back and go old school? Like, I'm not even going to look at reels on my phone because I'm sure it's fake. I'm sure it's a fake video. I won't trust anything except for what's in front of me. Could it
Mhm.
have people get back to, I want to be in an in-person relationship, in-person interaction, because I can trust it. I have to feel you to make sure you're not a hologram, but you are
Yeah, I think
real.
so.
I'm real. I mean, maybe this will help people get a little bit more analog again and a little bit less digital.
I think it will. I think it goes through these kind of swings. It doesn't mean
Hmm.
AI won't keep prolificating all through the world in different realms and ways and styles, but I think there will be some kickback. And just like we're seeing that upswing in faith, that people are returning to Christ and to church way more than previous generations, way more than
Hmm.
the millennials for sure. No offense,
Hmm.
millennial listeners, but that I think that will happen. But just like when the cell phones first came out, and we were like, "You think these are going to stay? You think they're real?" Oh, they certainly
Mhm.
are. Adaptations, some things we're learning more. Have you heard the big thing about the amount of radiation in headphone iPhone? What are they called? AirPods or whatever.
AirPods, yeah.
Yeah, that it's now recognizing how dangerous it is, and it's
Yep,
like the entertainers and the pro athletes are the ones shifting back to wires again to
yep,
help people recognize, hey, do not do that. It's extremely dangerous. So I think
yep.
as we learn in general, even though we're talking about deception and being lack of discernment and lack of wisdom, in general, as we learn and as things become the right, healthy choices, whether it's faith oriented or not, I think we'll have some swing back, just like we're having about vaccinations, just like we're having about chemicals in our foods, just like we're having about all of those things that are seemingly now coming back up to let's find real truth and make sure we're not being fed, pun intended, a bunch of baloney. Let's not go for the artificial sweeteners. Let's not go for the artificial
Right.
vegetables and everything else. And so, yes, I think you're right. It doesn't mean we don't need to be discerning and wise along the way, but I think we will have some swing and it'll bring about, because it's artificial, because it's deceptive, I think it'll bring about people standing up and fighting back for truth and authenticity and real relationships.
That's my hope. It's funny because when you frame something, it's tech, it's new, it's progressive.
Hmm.
And progressive, that's a a term that's usually associated with the left. Like, we're progressive and you guys are just these stodgy conservatives that just won't can't handle change, don't want change. I'm thinking, yeah, so much progress has been so great, hasn't it? Yeah, we progressed to having mass agriculture where we spray the crops with glyphosate so people get cancer. That's been wonderful. We've destroyed the small farmer who actually lets the animals free range and have a normal animal life before they are sacrificed for our nourishment. That's been progressive, hasn't it? Big ag, big pharma. Oh, we can go down that road for like 100 more episodes.
Mhm.
I really resist the idea that everything that's new and different is in fact progress in the sense that it's better, because it's
Yeah,
not.
even
And
if
that
it
doesn't
makes
make me a
things
stodgy conservative.
simpler, right? Even if it
Yeah.
makes it simpler and faster, that doesn't mean it's best.
Yeah.
I would even kick back, even an easy marriage doesn't mean it's best.
Okay, well, sure. Just end on that note, and
I had
we'll
to. I had to
take up
bring that one
we'll
up.
take up that debate next time. How about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. I just thought I'd have fun with you and Tim since you guys had
Mhm.
the easy marriage episode, which was a good one. I just had to have my own counter to it later, but again, that's
Well,
also
that's why I wanted to talk about it, because you
swayed
weren't
by my
there.
crisis work. So I mean, it's certainly
It's mostly
um,
swayed by the fact that you and Angie have just adversarial temperaments, at least toward each other. Actually, toward I would argue you have adversarial temperaments in appropriate directions,
yeah. But I
in
mean,
the
it doesn't
sense
mean it
that, like,
doesn't occasionally not be
right,
used well. So I'm not saying by all
yeah,
means just because you like to debate and scrap doesn't mean it's always healthy. But yeah, so I mean, I think that's one of the principles we were talking about is just being alert that AI will indeed make things faster, quicker, and simpler and easier. That does not mean it's best or even good for you, even if it helps on a particular assignment or particular thing, and especially when it's about a relational connection of community and empathy. And you can't have intimacy with AI. It's artificial. It is fake. You might think you do, but you don't. It's not real.
you know. And what is it doing to you as a human?
It will make you
You're
false. It'll make you
right.
less authentic, less real as well.
And I would argue a worse version of yourself.
Yeah, or at least
Be-
not
It's
your
going
best.
it's going to allow you
Yeah.
to, like I said, it's going to allow you to your narcissism, the parts about you that
Mhm.
a strong true intimacy helps to us to be the best version of ourselves, because we have that pushback we talked about
Yeah.
earlier. So
Yep.
it's coming from a place of, I want everyone to be the very best version of themselves, the very
Right.
best version
Hmm.
of the human that God created. And I would argue AI is actively going to undermine that
I
potentiality.
agree. It's a good finish statement right there.
All right, pray us out.
All right, Lord, you are anything but artificial, Father. You are the authentic creator and master of the universe, our Lord and Savior, our King, our rock, our Redeemer. And Lord, you challenge us and command us and even condemn us throughout scriptures about anything that is not true and holy and righteous and pure and undefiled and unstained. And AI has some advantages and some opportunities within it to possibly make things better or to give us information that might be helpful, but we have to be extremely wise and discerning and not simply choose artificial things because it's quicker, easier, simpler, faster. And maybe stops us, Lord, from even working and challenging ourselves and growing and struggling and even suffering to learn something, to produce something, to create something. So, Lord, please help us to stay firmly rooted in present reality, in truth, in your word, in your spirit, and to choose reality, nothing that is artificial, including our relationship with you and our relationship with each other. And when we need help, and when we're confused, when we're lonely, when we're depressed, when we're discouraged, that we would please reach out to live human beings and even reach out to us if they need to, Lord. So we ask for this, Lord. Give us the wisdom, discernment, bind the evil one from any aspect of this that is demonic and evil and dark, which certainly has happened and could happen. So we're asking for your protection. And we're praying, Lord, for all of this to glorify you. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Love and Life with Dr. Karin and Pastor Elliott is produced by Tim May and executive producer Dr. Karin Anders-Nabel. For more information about Love and Life, please go to loveandlifemedia.com.